Fellas, it's time to rise. We live in a world where predators hide behind screens, laws are bent to protect the wicked, and the voices of real men are being drowned out by a culture that's forgotten what honor looks like. But not here. Not today. This show is for the men who still believe in protecting women and children, not just with words, but with action. It's for the fathers, brothers, mentors, and warriors who know that silence is no longer an option. Because when good men stay quiet, evil gets loud. We're watching traditional values, family, faith, and masculine responsibility get torn down in the name of progress. But if we don't draw the line now, if we don't stand up and get involved in our communities, in our schools, in our laws, then we're going to wake up one day and realize we've lost everything that made this country strong. This podcast is your reminder. Stand tall. Speak truth. Defend what matters. Because if not us, then who? And if not now, it might be too damn late. Light one up. Settle in. Let's talk about it.
Welcome back to another episode of A Stogie for the Road. That is the final decision on the name for the podcast. Because it used to be Stogie from the Road, and I'm not from the road anymore. We thought about Stogie from the lounge, but maybe we might do a podcast mobily someday. It might not be from the lounge. It might be from a TGI Fridays or Waffle House or a Home Depot parking lot here in Everett. Hey, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, huh? And with me today is my beautiful Renee. She loves when I call her that because it sounds like weenie. But her name's Renee. Honey, welcome back. How
Thanks.
are you? All right. Now that's out of the freaking way. We got a lot to talk about today. It's been a little bit since you've been on. I did a podcast the other day and talked about a couple things, but we've had a lot kind of transpire. But today's podcast kind of goes around that disappointment that I feel at the state of affairs with men lately. It's something that's really been weighing on me. I listened to a podcast the other day that I love called The Order of Man, and it was called the Integrity Gap. And the integrity gap is this gap between what you're doing and what you're supposed to be doing, or what you're doing and what you want to do. Like if you want to lose 50 pounds, but you're eating Big Macs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, you've got that gap there in between what you want and your goal, and it's not conducive. If you want to be a father and a husband, but you're jerking off to porn and hooking up with hookers, you're not a really good fucking husband. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today because we've had a couple interactions, and I told myself I didn't want to talk about it, but I do want to talk about it. I actually changed my mind. I want to talk about that little fruitcake the other day at the stoplight. And I'll walk you through this here. So we were leaving. We were out running some errands. We're in the old pickup truck, and I take a right onto Highway 2. It's Highway 2, right?
Highway 9.
Highway 9, right? And I go through the stoplight, take a right, and I see this little freaking gray Geo Metro or something. The thing about Washington State, you will see some of the oldest fucking cars here. I can't tell you how many Chevy Celebrities I've seen since I've moved here. I haven't seen that shit since high school. Anyway, this little freaking gray car comes barreling up my ass. And I'm like, well, that's not going to do. So I slow down a little bit. He gets in my ass, and I see him back there doing the old YMCA thing with his arms. He's pissed and flailing, going off and all that shit. So I pull the side of the road and let him go around. He goes around. I get behind him. He starts brake checking me, flipping me off, doing all kinds of shit, just flipping the hell out. So we ride with him. And then I got a little closer to him just to kind of see what all the hullabaloo was about. And what does he do? He fights like Washington State liberal pusscakes do. He gets out his phone. For some reason here in Washington State, people think that they have unbelievable immunity to repercussions of their actions as long as they pull their fucking phone out. And it was amazing. So we ride all the way into Lake Stevens. We get through all the roundabouts and all. He is going on, and he's yelling out of his window. He's doing all kinds of carrying on and shit. And what happens? My favorite thing from being a truck driver, my favorite thing in the world is we wind up at the stoplight next to him. So we pull up next to him. Our windows are down. It's a beautiful sunny day. And this little fucking Tinkerbell just starts going off and losing his shit. And he is the quintessential spokesperson for everything that is wrong with masculinity today. He's got the curly ass ponytail underneath a shitty hat, half-ass dirty t-shirt, looked like you found it in a lost and found, and the most unkempt, untrimmed, shitty beard. This guy literally, I would not show any type of surprise if this guy said he still lives with his mother in their basement and lives off a steady diet of Hot Pockets and all that good shit. And he starts cussing at us immediately. He's got his phone up and he's cussing right at my girl Renee. Well, if you know anything about Renee, she's gonna dunk on you. I always say she's gonna dunk on you. She's gonna light your ass up. And you did. How did the exchange go, darling?
Well, first, let me just say you're dead on, right? I looked at this guy and he is the poster child for depression and insecurity for sure, right? This is somebody who has been coddled and real life has smacked him around every which way because life is not what mom promised him it would be. Uh, honestly, I really don't remember everything that he was saying. He just was shrieking and pulled out his phone and just full of all the you. And, Washington State's a two-party consent state, first of all. So you don't have my consent to record. But something told me he wasn't worried about that. He was literally using it as a shield. Uh, I don't know, calling me a bitch, calling me names, which is really crazy because I'm sitting in the passenger seat and I really have no control over what's happening between the two of you. Uh, So we exchanged, words a little bit. And I just want to say too that the obesity epidemic in Washington, it's a real thing, guys. And if you're 22 and your BMI is above 30, you look 40. You look 40. There's no sun here most of the year. And it's just messy, right? It was bad. It was really, really bad.
He was a definition of messy.
I mean, like I said, insecurity, depression, obese, all of the things. And it was really sad. I mean, his car was sort of the exterior value of what he was, right? So if you looked at this guy's car, you would also say 100% he drives that, checks out, right? Because all of him was matching. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he called me a few names and shrieked a little bit. And, in between the wavering of his voice, called me a bitch. And you weren't having it. And I purposely was taking up as much window space as I could. And of course, I knew that the minute that you were like, baby, sit back, I was going to sit back, but I was going to stay in that window as long as I could because, well, let the ladies deal with it, honey. He's not a match for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, but yeah and no, because the cloth that I'm cut from, you don't raise your voice to another man's woman. You just don't. You don't raise your voice to a woman that you don't know, or it's bad practice to be raising your voice to women in public like that. And before you guys fucking start in on me, I'm not saying it's okay to raise your voice to women in private or anything like that, but the point I'm trying to make is you don't fucking talk to another man's girl like that, or a girl period like that. And as soon as I heard the word bitch, even though you were lighting him up like the fucking 4th of July. As soon as I heard bitch, the truck went in park.
Yeah.
And my body went like liquid, like just, I'm not worried about fighting. I'm wanting to fight you. I, I, I want to fight you. I need to fight you. But I took a pause because that's what men do, is you take a little personal inventory of, if I do what I want, what will I get in return? Well, there's a mathematical fact. I walk that little son of a bitch like a dog. It's a mathematical fact that he would shit his shorts. And so I had you sit back and I looked at him and I said, pull over here. And he looks at me and goes, what? And I said, pull over here. And I pointed to my left. He goes, what, you think you're big and bad? I'm like, no, I know I am. And he starts laughing at me, but all the while he's holding the phone. And I thought about this all night last night, thought about it on my drive this morning, and I talked to you about it. And the problem that we have with men now, and Mike Tyson actually said it, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the fucking face. Then your plan goes away. He had a plan all the way up to what I would have loved to do to him, which is calmly walk around the front of my truck to his driver's side, take his phone out of his hands, which would have been effortless, smash it, and look at him and say, what's your next move? You have nothing to tell the police who's who and what's what. You have nothing to call the police. And at best, I got a good 10 minutes to light you up and play with you like a fucking grizzly bear would. And you have no plan. I can see it in your eyes. You have no plan, do you? But he talked like he had this shit wrapped up. And that is the problem that we have with men. They all think they have a plan, and they don't.
Well, where's your common sense? Right? You got that at the light, right? Go ahead and pull over. Let's have a conversation with our fists. Right? That's pretty old school. But what happened to the common sense of, I know I'm driving a vehicle that could kill somebody, and I'm reckless, and I'm tailgating, and I'm erratic? I mean, in the big picture, what's a punch in the face?
Well, he's never felt one, for starters. I can tell by the way he was talking.
But right? Like, where's the common sense in that? I know that I'm driving an 8,000-pound vehicle when I'm on the road, so I'm not going to drive it like an asshole. And if I do drive it like an asshole and somebody who's twice my age shows up and says, hey, you're driving like an asshole,
Mm-hmm.
well, you're probably right. Checks out. I better not drive like an asshole, and I'm sorry. But the level of entitlement and stupidity mixed together,
Mm-hmm.
that's the part that's dangerous. And you're absolutely right. We're the fuck around and find out era, right? Gen X, hey,
Mm-hmm. Raise yourself, take an ass whipping,
right.
and parents said because I fucking said so. Moving on.
Yeah. So what happens when you drive a vehicle and you hurt somebody and then you get punched in the face and you scream that you're the victim and you've got video recording of somebody punching you in the face?
Well, it doesn't unpunch your face, I'll tell you that.
Well, it doesn't unpunch your face, but also if you hurt somebody with your vehicle, they don't just get unhurt because,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, he doesn't think about that. And that's one point. The point I'm trying to make is this guy is a prime example that life to him is like a video game. It's got that same level of fucking reality to him.
Well, there's no consequences.
Yeah, what he does in a video game, he thinks he can do in real life. You're in my way, I'm going to fucking bump you with my car. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you know? And there's no reality there. He's been sheltered from getting your ass whipped in high school because schools, they don't fight anymore. And if they do, everybody goes to jail. So people don't really, there's no under the bleachers. Let's sort this shit out and then we'll be friends afterwards. There's none of that. And you can see that now with these riots in Seattle. Folks, these fucking riots that are going on in downtown Seattle are less than an hour from our house.
You're talking about the ICE riots.
Yeah, the ICE riots. That's,
Yeah.
but it's runs right in conjunction with the Chaz Chop shit. These people, I'm seeing videos of these fucking boys, because they're not men, surrounding elderly people. They surrounded an elderly woman leaving a Christian concert, walking with a cane, and they're walking with her, calling her fat, telling her she needs to die, telling this old man and old woman, I want to see your bodies bleeding, hanging from a tree. They're saying the most hatred, horrible shit to their elders. And I've been really, really disturbed by this because men make men. Where's the men that made these young men? Where were they? What did they do? Who was in charge? Where did these young men think and grow up thinking it's perfectly acceptable because we have different philosophical beliefs to walk up to an elderly couple and say shit like that? It baffles me.
Truth be told, we've been on both sides of that because we've also seen some elderly people act in horrific ways. It's the de-evolution of society. There are no consequences for our actions.
This is true. But we're talking about, yeah, we're talking about like the Karens and the bullies and shit like that. That's one thing. I'm wondering how much people like that, like those 50, 60-year-old people that live at the end of a cul-de-sac that cause problems every time the wind changes, have to do with what's going on right now. Because from what I've seen in the 20 years of raising children, I watched these kids, this generation that's running around with fucking half-ass beards and fat-ass girlfriends and tattoos on their freaking foreheads, talking shit and acting like they're hard, but they're from Ballard and Lake Stevens and upscale areas and shit like that, and they're walking around like they're hood as fuck. What I saw when I was raising my children was a lot of kids dipped in Purell, hand sanitizer shit. Don't run with that Oreo cookie, you might get hurt.
Peanut allergies.
Fucking peanut allergies, getting their ass whipped by granola bars, and fucking what the fuck?
Yeah.
And where was the men? Where's the dad saying, fucking rub some dirt on it and get your ass back out there and fucking play? Oh no, we can't do that. You're taking away his choice. You're taking away his individuality. You're taking away this. How's that fucking working right now? Because those little bastards that have never really experienced that lightning bolt to the nose going, that's what your mouth just got you. What did you learn? Now they're running around throwing cinder blocks through cop car windows while cops are driving, burning the American flag because the concept of going overseas and fighting for that fucking flag doesn't even register with them. They've never seen, like me growing up, I saw the World War II Vietnam vet guys to where, don't you dare let that flag touch the fucking ground. Don't you dare. These kids don't have any frame of reference to it. They don't even fucking know what 9/11 really is. They didn't experience it. They didn't see how the country came together as one for a brief moment of time. Remember the patriotics, yeah, the embodiment of patriotism when 9/11 happened. Everybody was about our country. The recruitment stations, they were completely packed full of young men saying, let's go get those motherfuckers. And what is it now? It scares the shit out of me. I've got sons. I've got grandsons. I've got daughters and granddaughters.
I think we're seeing a lot of people that are scared to be uncomfortable and they feel
Mm-hmm.
entitled to not be uncomfortable or put out in any way. And if you do, well, then it equates to some sort of abusive language or abusive behavior that's directed at you because you in some way offended me or made me uncomfortable, whether you're on the road that I'm traveling on and you've pulled out in front of me and I don't want to take my foot off the gas, all the way down to I'm watching Jeopardy and I don't like the sound of kids playing in my front yard. You have inconvenienced me. I am entitled to just go ballistic on you.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. I don't want to be inconvenienced by the people that I depend on to live, right? Because again, let's take the guy at the stoplight. He can't live independently.
Yeah, there's no way.
That's a fact.
Yeah, there's no fucking way he's got his own place.
That man doesn't shower without somebody telling him to shower.
Yeah. I got a feeling his name's like Tanner.
When you are 22 years old and you look like that, your parents failed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you looked at him, you were like, you look as old as us. He's like, bitch, I'm 22. And we were like, yo.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're not going to make it to 46, buddy.
22 years don't whoop your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and don't get me wrong. We're meeting young guys that are fucking top tier, good young men. It made me really happy to see the graduation parade the other day and see that young guy sitting on top of the truck holding the American flag and the Army shirt, knowing he's getting ready to go.
Yeah.
And that made me happy. And, seeing the guys with the freaking primer colored GTO convertible the other day with the purple flames spray painted on it, seeing those guys, they hang out in the garage and wrench on that old car. It made me happy.
We're talking about a different generation though,
Yeah.
right? And I don't want to be those old people that are like, oh man, the generation underneath us, they're soft. Well, we created that, right? But there is a generation because I'm an old mom, right? So my kids are in that generation beneath the 20, 30 somethings. And the pendulum is swinging the other way. Guys, if you are in your 20s and 30s and you are dealing with depression, go to the doctor and get it handled and find yourself a mentor. Find yourself a man who's got his shit together. Find yourself a man who has integrity and morals. Because I'm telling you, the generation beneath you is coming for you. These teenagers that we saw graduating, my own son has surpassed many of the 20 and 30 something we're seeing. We also are seeing a divide in those 20s and 30s, right? We've got the guys that have their shit together.
Yeah, I mean, some of those guys in there, that are graduating high school right now, and I saw it in the trucking industry. I was seeing young 22-year-old kids out there that they own their own truck. They got their CDL and they're out there hauling bulls and they're busting their ass every day. And so I don't want to devalue the kids that are working on the farms and shit like that. But if I were to take a stab in the dark with my little shade tree level of expertise right now, I know what made these kids. If we're just going to isolate this right to the men. Okay, we're not going to talk about the women yet. But I'm going to isolate this to the men, and I'm going to call the men out that had a hand in this. And you motherfuckers that are listening to this right now, you know exactly who the fuck you are. I know who made these men. These guys, probably white collar. Probably. Because any guy that's out there really busting his pick really freaking hard is not going to tolerate. He's not going to work all day in the foundry, getting covered in fucking hot metal and getting his hands split open and come home and having some little rat mustache, Cheeto fingered fucking GameStop wannabe piece of shit acting like that. He's going to whip his ass and say, if I'm going to work, so are you. I know who these dads are. And feel free to write in and complain if you don't like this. You're the little IT son of a bitch pieces of shit that are jerking off in the closet to fucking Pornhub versus doing your goddamn job as a father. You are so wrapped up in your own addiction and your own self-fulfilling bullshit, whether it's drugs, whether it's porn, whether it's whatever the fuck it is. You're so wrapped up in you that your kid grew up outside of your frame of reference, out of your line of sight, because you were doing your own bullshit. And that's what you get. You get a kid that figured it out on his own with no male guidance. And male guidance isn't always, Leave It to Beaver or Ward Cleaver going, something on your mind, champ? Would you like to talk about it? Sometimes male guidance is a dad coming in and flipping the bed upside down because you slept till noon. Sometimes male guidance is a gentle pop on the back of the head when you're slouching at the table at a nice restaurant. Sometimes male guidance is, you're not fucking dating that girl. And I don't give a shit what you say. I know what she is, and I know what will become of you.
Don't you think, though, that having a dad in the picture who's like that is also guidance? We can talk about single moms, right? And how they raise boys. But don't you think that that sends a message too? When dad's not invested, when dad doesn't care, when dad's going to the back room and shutting the door and he's not paying attention to his son or what time he sleeps till or anything else, when dad lets mom do all the housework and do all the raising of the children, it's guidance too, right? You're teaching your son how to be a man. And if he's looking to you like you're Superman, and you dismiss his mother and you let her handle everything and you just go to the back room and you're, I don't know, looking at porn or doing whatever you do, but you're not playing ball in the driveway with your son. Well, you're teaching him that that's exactly how men show up in relationships and that's how they show up in the world.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. Because a man can't be what a man can't see.
How many times have you said that?
Thousands.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you can do everything right. I did my absolute best with my kids, and I've watched them learn through the school of hard knocks since they left because that's what kids do. You're absolutely going to go out there and touch the stove. But going back to what we're talking about, we have a really huge problem in this country. This is really bad. And it goes to that Joe Rogan thing about, hard men create good times create weak men. That one, we're seeing what bad men created. Now, what bad men are doing, like the new generation of men, these 20 somethings that are throwing bricks through fucking windows and spray painting things. And like, they have no frame of reference. Some of these kids that are cussing down a senior citizen woman, they don't understand that that's a generation of men that either fought in the war and they would rather die. And I'm not joking. I'm not being overly dramatic here. They would rather die than see you talk to their wife like that. And they would most definitely fucking kill you for that. Because a man that has any sort of pride and love and respect for his woman can't sit back and watch that happen and then go on normally. Like, how do you ever look your wife in the face after you just let some pants shitting teenager call her a bitch and do this and that and the other thing and throw eggs in her face and shit like that? Fine, take me to fucking jail. Take me to jail. That's fine. Send me to death row. That's fine. Go ahead and fucking execute me. That's fine. But I cannot live knowing that this young man just threw a brick at my wife or made us fear for our life by busting out all our windows, and I got the babies in the car and my wife sitting next to me. You have to kill me. 100% you have to kill me. And there's hundreds, thousands, millions of men that still walk this earth that subscribe to that same philosophy. The problem that we have here, and what we learned the other day when that councilman came by and we talked to him, was we have this big epidemic here in Lake Stevens, which is primarily kind of geared towards a lot of these fucking white collar areas, which is rape and sex crimes and pedophilia. And we've started this, I guess, this ripple in the lake. And there's the mumblings of it because we all know how I'm going to handle it. I'm going to cause some fucking trouble here. Nobody's doing anything. Nobody's doing anything. And I don't care what they fucking say. I don't consider writing a comment about how much you hate it under a post of something horrific means to you. It does nothing. 50 fucking bikers on your front porch. That'll get a little hitch in your giddy up, won't it? 50 fucking men standing on the town square holding up your picture because everybody knows you raped your daughter or your granddaughter. And the courts haven't caught up with you yet, but we're going to make sure you can't fucking shop, you can't eat here, you can't drive here. Everybody needs to know your fucking name. And what happened when I tried that? And just for a disclaimer, I'm not fucking done yet. But when I tried that, there was a large amount of support here in Lake Stevens. But there was a lot of men going, you need to let the cops do it. Know your role. Vigilante justice doesn't have any place here. Oh, but fucking pedophiles do?
How about this one? Believe every woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you show up with videos and pictures and confessions, even your family will say, I don't believe you. Those same people who stand out on the corner and hold signs up talking about the Me Too movement when it comes to their family, it is so disturbing to them that, well, we just can't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the truth is, yeah, you're right. Stand up there with signs with their faces on it and let them know. Turn them away from your businesses. Guys, if these are your friends and you know you got deviant friends and we know you know, call them out. Because your kids are around them, your wife is around them, your sister's around them. Call them out. Men make men.
Yeah. There's no men doing that, though.
No.
And I don't know why. I don't know if it's a mixture. Is their wives not letting them? Are they worried about their beer, cigarette, and a ball game in their boat? And they're worried about how it's going to affect them financially? Are they worried about them getting in trouble? What are they worried about?
Well, how about this? How about those of us that have dealt with it, right? Let's talk about the councilman that was standing here in the driveway. It touched his family too.
Mm-hmm.
He's on year 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about the prosecutor in Snohomish County, an elected official,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the excuse that's being widely distributed to everybody is that we're overworked. We don't have the manpower to go after these people. But the laws are the laws. And the police were turned into paper pushers. And then the police fill out the report and send it to the prosecuting attorney with a recommendation. And the prosecuting attorney says, well, I just don't have enough manpower to prosecute these people. Is it really justice to just let 80 out of 100 rapists go? How is that just?
Yeah, didn't they say, what was it? They only prosecute 20 out of every 100?
20 out of every 100.
And what is the first thing they do when they look at the victim?
Pull your voter card.
Check your voting record. Well, I tell you what, ladies, if you come to Washington State and you're a Republican, you better hope you don't get raped. Because sorry about your luck. They're not going to do anything about it. That's the world we live in now. We live in a world where 20-year-old men can cuss at elderly ladies with canes. People can rape women in their sleep and video it and claim, I'm scared in court.
Or I'm mentally ill.
I'm mentally ill. I'm bipolar. Good. Good. I'm glad you're giving us a reason to take you to the Humane Society for fucking pieces of shit.
And let me be really clear. Anybody who's struggling with mental illness doesn't equal abuse. It doesn't mean you're a rapist. It doesn't mean you're a pedophile. It doesn't mean you're an abuser. It doesn't mean you're any of those things. It means you're struggling with mental illness. And those of you in the community who are struggling with their own mental health, do you really want that label attached? Is it not already stigmatized enough? But now we've got people claiming mental illness for their deviant ways to escape accountability.
Yeah. I mean, well, they're using mental illness as a kind of a shield to stand behind, but they're devaluing people that actually do. I get what you're saying. They're actually struggling with their own mental illness, that are just struggling in silence. They're not hurting anybody other than themselves. That goes without saying, but that, I mean, to me, that falls in the same line of, women out there that are being promiscuous and getting drunk and sleeping with men, and then they regret it the next morning and file rape charges against the guy. It's the true victims in this life are getting chewed up under the wheels of people that are using these as tools to do evil.
You're using the laws to escape consequences.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that was the biggest thing that hit me with dealing with your ex.
Yeah.
Was the fact that this guy has volumes, unbelievable volumes of tangible, hold in your fucking hand proof that he has no respect for the law or humanity, uses that same fucking legal system to save his own ass and say, I'm scared.
To harass and abuse,
No,
actually.
to harass and abuse. But you know what I mean. It's the fucking that song and dance of I'm bipolar and I'm this and I'm that. Never an I'm sorry.
No.
Never any remorse. Just I don't want to be in trouble because of this. These people are everywhere. He's not some fucking anomaly.
No, and these are the people that everybody should be afraid of. Make no mistake, if you have somebody, like the number one sign that somebody is a toxic son of a bitch, male or female, is the inability to take accountability and apologize for what you've done and then change your behavior. Right? That is a toxic ass person. And your nervous system should be like, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. Like that person's on fire. But it's become so common that people are desensitizing to it. And now we're seeing it everywhere, right? I can act like a fool. I can act like an asshole. And the minute that you have a reaction to my shit behavior, you're the problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he called you everything under the sun at the stoplight the other day, but if I would have popped him in the fucking nose, he'd be like, whoa, what the fuck was that for? How the fuck do you not know? How are you surprised?
Baby pulled out his phone after his own bad behavior.
Would
right?
you get a copy of that?
He pulled out his phone to record you after he instigated a road rage incident.
That's Washington for you, folks. I spend a lot of time going, what? Like, I truly sometimes feel like I'm in upside down land. So there's the problem. What's the solution? And I watched this thing the other day, and it was Ted Bundy talking in an interview, and maybe some of you guys have seen this before. And this is not all of it, but this is one thing that's pretty prevalent amongst men. He said, I've been in here for a long time. I'm a smart guy. And I've talked to almost every man that's been around me that's here for a violent, horrific crime. And there's one commonality amongst all of them. There's one thing with every single one of them. The downturn of them, when they started going towards violence and abuse, and lack of humanity, was pornography. And it's pretty fascinating now because I've done a lot of research on it, and I've looked into it extensively. It's great that there's a lot of like life coaches and psychologists and studies and movements going out right now to spread awareness on what that does to the human mind. And a lot of guys my age or younger, that was normalized. It was absolutely normalized to the point of, hey, I don't really talk about it, but that's what we do. what it does to the human brain. And guys, hear me or don't hear me. It's your life. You got to walk it. But if you're struggling with something like that, which most men do, a lot of men do, I did. If it hasn't broken you yet, it will. You will watch your life decay. You'll watch your relationships decay. You'll watch your outlook on humanity fade away. And you'll blink your eyes, and whether it's 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, you'll be a man that you don't recognize anymore. You'll look back in the pages of the book of your life, and you'll ask yourself, how did I get here? How did this happen? What the fuck has become of me? It's not just pornography. It's a lot of shit. It's a lot of shit in this life, in this world. But that aspect right there, pornography, ties in directly to your outlook on humanity. And that is a big fucking block in the foundation of who you are. Because when you stop seeing people as people and objects to fulfill instant gratification instead, that colors the lenses of the way you look at this world. It could be compared to like your first bump of cocaine. It's amazing. And then you want 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're out of money. And then you're pawning off your grandfather's watch. Then you're stealing money. Then you're doing all this stuff. Not saying that I have. I'm just saying I'm giving you kind of a frame of reference about how the de-evolution of you happens. When you take something that was normalized when you were younger and let it turn into something that consumes you as a coping mechanism. These people that are shouting down the elderly, they have no concept of humanity. How did they get there? How did they not see their grandmother's eyes and the eyes of the old lady that he was yelling at? How did he not fucking see that? How did we get here? Because people aren't people to people anymore. They're tools. They're appliances. I ask myself this all the time. How did we get here? When I watch stuff on the news, what the fuck is happening to our country? When I watch men and how they react. Tonight we went out to dinner. I watched a guy ignore his girlfriend across his table. He was more interested in his food than he was her, while another guy came over and put his arm around her and was rubbing her back, and the guy never looked up and thought anything. 2 minutes later, I watched 2 women walk into the restaurant and hold the doors for the men that walked in after them. How did we get here? What happened? Because people aren't people to people anymore. There's a time in a man's life that he has to, and I've said this before, realize that everything for the most part is his own fault and that nobody's going to come and save you. If you're struggling with any level of addiction, you have to say, This is my own fucking fault. Whether I had shitty parents, shitty life, shitty neighbors, shitty whatever, I made these decisions to get me here. And then the next phase of it is realizing, instead of screaming at the ceiling with your fucking hands in the air, crying like a little bitch, pissing and moaning on, oh, poor me, come to the realization that nobody's going to come to fucking save you. So you can sit there and wallow in your own dirty fucking bathwater, piss and moan and cry about how bad your life is, or you can get out of the fucking tub, dry yourself off, and start walking away from the filth that you live in. I've put a lot of thought into starting an organization of men and accountability, like how the Order of Man has the Iron Council. But men make men. And if you're hanging around men that validate your filth and your bullshit and your excuse making, how they all write little excuses for you to fucking be tardy to masculinity and your own manhood and showing up for your wife and kids and all that shit, then you need to clean up your fucking yard and get men around you that call you out and say, you're not a piece of shit, but you're sure as fuck acting like one. And if you don't straighten your shit up, you can get the fuck away from me. You need men in your life that look at you and say, what you're doing is fucked up. Let's fix it. But I'm not going to sit here and wipe your snotty little fucking nose and tell you it's, your pretty little ass is bright and shiny in every little way. I'm not going to do that. Everything that I've gone through in my life, I can tell you, I didn't have a perfect upbringing, but I made the decisions that got me where I was. One of the reasons why I was so miserable a year and a half ago when I was on the truck show circuit and all this shit and everybody was coming up and wanting to meet me and Bonnie and all that bullshit is because I was living a life of inauthenticity. I was talking about how great trucking was and how awesome it was, and you should want to be a part of it too. But I was fucking miserable. I was miserable, checked out of life, and pretending through the lens of a camera. Talking about how much fun Bonnie is having riding around the country while she was shackled in the front seat of a truck. Going to truck shows, acting like I was totally happy. Getting drunk and doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing. And like I've said in my podcast before, the universe is right and just. And the universe dealt me the exact hand that I was begging for, that I earned. And I'm glad I did. I've taken about a year and a half, almost 2 years now, of being extremely strict with myself, learning to be patient with others but strict with myself, and owning my shit. And the purpose of my podcast and the whole rebirth of it and everything I'm doing right now is if you're tuning into it, I'm not going to call you out by name, but I'm going to call you out by your actions. And you are sitting by yourself in that truck right now, or in your garage, or in your living room, or you got your earbuds in your ear while you're mowing your fucking lawn. I'm going to plant a seed in your head right now. Take a personal inventory of your life and every single aspect of it, and ask yourself, would I be okay if my children got to watch a home movie of what I know? Would I be okay if my wife watched the home movie of what I know inside my head? My friends, my colleagues, my community. Can I open up the doors and windows of my mind and let them see the real me and what I do when I think nobody's looking? Well, if you can say yes to that, then you're on the right track and God be with you. But I would say 80% of you would say no. If life hasn't beat your ass yet by saying no, I can promise you it will. True success in a man's life is the world is better because he has lived. You can go stand in a church all day long and put the money in the plate, but that doesn't mean shit. As soon as you get home, you're off in the fucking back room jerking off to porn. You can organize all the 5Ks you want, charity things, be the funniest guy at the water cooler at your office. But if you're beating the shit out of your wife in front of your kids, nothing's going to save you from what you got coming to you. If you're the baseball coach or the ski instructor that's making homeless women do shit for your own sexual deviant fucking pleasures, or you're drugging and raping women while they sleep, or you're locking your son in a shed, nobody gives a fuck about what you do on that little league field or on that ski slope, because you still got hell to look forward to. If you need a gut check and a reality check, and you have a deep burning desire to unfuck yourself, you found the right podcast. And with that being said, that's all I got. How about you, babe?
I think you covered it. And I think it's real. What does a clean slate look like? And how many things in your life that you love are you going to lose when the universe gives you that clean slate? Make a choice.
Make a choice. What do you say all the time, baby?
Make good choices.
Make good choices. All right, guys. Well, that being said, we're going to leave it on whatever the fuck note that was. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of A Stogie for the Road. Tune in next time. Maybe Renee will be here. Or maybe I'll be down here just ranting my ass off over a nice cup of coffee and a good cigar. Guys, I hope you're happy, healthy, loving, and living life. We'll be seeing you around.